Alrighty, guys, we'll go ahead and get going today. I have a little bit of an activity for this morning, but before we do that, what I want to do is just kind of go through announcements, and we'll check Blackboard together, make sure everybody knows what is due this week. And then I also want to front load Wednesday's lab for you guys as well. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll hit Blackboard first. All right, so we are in week number 7. Here's the good news. After this week, nope, after next week, after the end of week 8, we are officially halfway through the semester. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I could go either way. But so this week, we are kind of backing off of new lecture material and switching gears a little bit, and to try to apply what you guys have learned, especially with the plant stuff from last week, and how that actually functions in certain ecosystems. And so these two manuscripts by Mel George and I think Mel was in the RDM one too, are going to be really good pieces of information about California ecosystems. And it's also going to help us set the stage for the grazing management plan that we're going to hear more about on Wednesday. And so this week, you guys have an assignment due. It's not a quiz, and it's an assignment, and it's linked in here. And it's a series of questions about manuscript number 1 and number 2. So manuscript number 1 is all about the different and vegetation types throughout the California Mediterranean climate ecosystem. So we have lots and lots of dynamics. So we not only have lots of plant types like shrubs and forbs and grasses, but we have different growth cycles and life forms within those, and they all interact very differently. So our ecosystem is very, very dynamic, and it tends to be a little bit hard to manage. The second manuscript is all about measurement of residual dry matter. And residual dry matter is basically the dead plant. Okay, so because we are an ecosystem here in California that is dominated by annual grasses, typically those grasses will germinate when the temperature gets below about 70 degrees, the soil temperature gets below about 72 degrees Fahrenheit, but is in that sweet spot between 54 degrees Fahrenheit and 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And we get at least a ½ an inch of precipitation. And so we have had a couple of storms here in Northern California already, but we aren't really seeing germination of too many annual grasses or cool season grasses yet in the valley, because the temperature hasn't dropped enough to cool the soils down. And so up here in the mountains where our ranch is at, we're at about 3,500 feet. We are seeing some cool grass germination taking place. It's kind of cool, but we need that rain to keep coming consistently, so it doesn't stunt the grasses once they get germinated. And so those grasses will go through germination in the fall and the winter. Usually we see about between usually December and January, really stunted growth, because the soil temperature tends to drop below 54 degrees Fahrenheit. And then it'll warm back up starting in February, and we'll get some massive spring growth. So the plant will go through what we call the vegetative state, where it's actively growing through February and March and April. And then usually in April, it'll seed out. So that's the reproductive phase. And then the plant, once it seeds out, it's going to die. And it usually dies about the same time the temperatures really get high in May. And so the carcass of the plant is left over, and that's what we call residual dry matter. And residual dry matter is really important for a bunch of reasons, but in our ecosystem, from a production standpoint, we have to manage rangeland so that we leave enough residual dry matter in the spring to come back to in the fall. And so, and that's with cattle and sheep. So that's one reason that we're going to learn what residual dry matter is. The second reason is that when we measure residual dry matter in the fall, that is also going to inform our stocking rate for that part of the season. And so normally, if we were in person, we would be going out to the Chico State Range property this fall, trudging through star thistle carcasses to get some good residual dry matter plotting. And we would do just circle cuts, and we would actually take forage samples and weigh it to figure out how many how many pounds of residual dry matter is on that piece of acreage. And then we could actually take that back and calculate it into a stocking rate. And so that's where we're headed with this stuff, is we're going to calculate stocking rate. And so anyway, that gives you kind of just an overview of what manuscript 1 and 2 are going to be about this week. And then, so you're going to answer some questions about the information contained in those 2 manuscripts and submit it by the end of day on Friday. All right, any questions about what's due this week?
I don't have a question about what's due this week, but it might be a dumb question, but is there a period of time where you'll see an overlap of like cool season grasses seeding out and warm season grasses like germinating?
Probably in the San Joaquin Valley. So like south of Sacramento, you would probably see that. So what we run into, Cheyenne, you bring up an interesting point, is we actually run into a major gap in vegetation during that time. So for example, in irrigated pasture systems at the beef unit, our cool season grasses are going to be really strong through about May, and then they're going to quit. And what we end up having to do is then go back in and plant Sudan grass, and the Sudan grass won't come on until like mid-July. So we get like a 6-week, sometimes an 8-week window where our pastures just get hammered. And so we can see that on rangeland as well, because there's a lot of things that those warm season grasses have to have checked off their list before they can germinate and grow. And typically, the warm season grasses are going to be not very high in nutrition. So they're going to be weeds, they're going to be weedy forbs, that type of thing. And so those are what we tend to see come on in our system. When you get up in elevation to where it's a little bit cooler, you can see a little bit more meshing of cool season and warm season grasses, in my opinion, or in my experience. But the best thing to make sure that's in place is there's got to be enough precipitation. So as long as we have like enough spring precipitation, as soon as those warm season temperatures get up high enough, we should start seeing germination of those warm season plants, but they tend to grow a little bit slower than the cool seasons. So it's kind of a catch-22. There's a lot of dynamics just in elevation changes. So I don't think I answered your question super coherently, but
no, you didn't. No, that actually was like probably more than what I was expecting. So I was wondering if there was like a lapse in time in between the two. Like you said, there's like a 6-week kind of period, or in some areas it's different. So yeah, that was something I was curious about when I was watching the lectures.
Cool. Great question. All right, so just a quick reminder that assignment is due end of day on Friday. So let's talk about labs. So this week we're going to have another guest speaker. Oh, I should tell you, I don't know, did I send you guys on Pronto pictures of us putting up some of the stuff with Sam? Tessa's shaking her head yes, so that's good. I thought that I had done that, but what Casey thinks and what Casey does sometimes are 2 very different things. So Yeah, so we spent Thursday afternoon helping Dr. Seward and his student Craig put up some wildlife cams and then also take like background audio. And so it was good because we had a couple of heifers that were being pretty vocal about it. And but the microphones that they were using, they used 3 different microphones to collect the background noise. And what they can do is actually go in. I don't know how any of this works, and they can layer that data on top of kind of the satellite image data to hopefully better understand the dynamics of the cows, where they're moving, how they're moving, that type of stuff. So we not only may be able to use satellite images to track cattle, but use the wildlife cams to as kind of like what we call ground truth. And so determining like these cows were here at this time type of thing, because we have to match that up with the new technology to validate it. And then the audio is also going to be another way that we could potentially track cattle and their movements and that type of thing. And so this is all very pilot project-y. We don't really have an experimental design set up or anything. We're just trying to figure out if the technology will work, and more importantly, if the cows don't lick the cameras to death and take them down, because our cows really, really, really like new objects to scratch on and lick. So we'll see, but I'll keep you updated on that. It's kind of a cool project. But I don't know, it's one of those things that from a manager's perspective, I'm like, yes, this will be great. Like we could use satellite images to, tell if wolves are present or look at grazing distribution or something like that. And then at the same time, I'm like, oh, I don't want the government to get a hold of this and tell us how many cows we were over on our limits and all of that type of stuff. So it's very catch-22, but that's okay. We aren't to that point yet, thank goodness. Okay, so this week we are going to have a former or alumni of Chico State, Julie Allen. She graduated, I think, 2017. She actually worked at the sheep unit for a lot of years, for her entire time at Chico State. Was on our national academic quadrathlon champion team, and she is now working for the MacArthur Resource Conservation District here in MacArthur, which is my hometown. And so she's actually managing a piece of property, or part of a piece of property called the MacArthur Swamp. And this used to be a swamp before they drained it in like the mid to late 1800s. And so they drained it and used a lot of that really good clay soil for agriculture and that type of thing. So PG&E purchased this piece of property. She can give us years. I can't even remember. But PG&E has had it for a long, long time. And they just turned over ownership to RCD a few years ago, and that's when Julie got hired. And so this piece of property has been a long-term lease for cattle producers up in this area for, golly, I'll have to ask. I know that, and I'm almost 40, so I remember riding in the swamp gathering cows from my uncle when I was 6. So at least the mid 80s, and probably way before that. And so this piece of property is a challenging piece of property. And now that it's turned over to RCD actually hired a company to come in and do an inventory on this place. And so there's multiple goals with this piece of property. So they have to manage for wildlife, they have to manage for cattle, they have to manage for plant biodiversity, they have to manage for invasive species. It's definitely a multi-use property. And so the issue with this is that this company came in, collected all this data. They wrote up a management plan that had very little to do with the grazing aspect of it. And that is a big concern for Julie, because there's like 6,000 head of cattle that graze this piece of property every single summer. And so that's significant. And so she is probably going to give us the charge to come up with a grazing management plan that better helps her manage certain pastures on this piece of property. And so she'll give us total acreage, what she really needs out of it. And so on Wednesday, if you guys could just please be here on time, turn your cameras on, and take notes, and then ask really, really good questions. That would be very helpful, because we're going to use she's really setting the stage for what we're going to work through the rest of the semester. And so some things that you guys can kind of be thinking about, and as she's talking, is the different plant species that are on this piece of property. And there's several different pastures, and each pasture has like a different dominant plant species, which makes it really super hard to manage for. So once she gives us her charge, we're going to spend the next probably 6 weeks going back and looking at things like web soil survey. We're going to figure out what the soil characteristics are. We're going to spend some time in plants. We're going to spend some time in forage collection. So I think I'm going to try to go help her collect some forage samples, because she got some exclosures up in the next couple of weeks. And then I'll take some really good video and stuff too, because we're going to gather out of the swamp for my uncle in the next few weeks as well. So I'll get some good pictures so you guys can know what we're kind of dealing with and stuff. So it's an interesting property. And so I am learning what I don't know. And the more I learn, the more I don't know. And so I've been, on this piece of property for essentially my entire life. And there's little nuances about management that I just hadn't ever really thought of. And so I'm really excited to kind of dive into this with you guys, and we're going to learn together. So that's what Wednesday looks like. Sorry, I hope you cannot hear my dogs. They are pissing me off. All right, so with that, I want to kind of segue into about a 20-minute activity. So I'm going to have you guys go to 5 different breakout rooms just randomly. And what you're going to do is I'll go into each breakout room and paste in your Google or your set of Google Slides. And what I have put in, we'll just look at this one really quickly. Oh my gosh, 2 seconds. I'm sorry. Stupid. Okay, so we'll just use group 1s as an example. So you guys have got, just a set of kind of blank slides. And so each group is going to have a plant type or a plant species. And so this first one is Medusa head. And so as a team, you guys are going to go in and kind of split these up. You can pull up the lectures from last week if that helps you, but go find some pictures of these plant species, or first things first, find the scientific name and put it in here. Okay, and then go find some pictures, talk to me about growth form and morphology, talk to me about lifespan and cycle, season of growth and nomenclature, and all this stuff is built into those lectures from last week. Forage value, you don't have to get super extensive on this. It can be, high, medium, or low forage quality and maybe a reason. And then if the plant has developed any type of mechanism for grazing resistance. So that could be avoidance or tolerance. All right, so that is what we are going to do for the next few minutes. And so I want us to focus on an individual species and go deep with some of this information for that species, because with the grazing management plan, what we're going to do is we're going to have to back out of it and manage by landscape, where we have not just one species, but we've got like 20 species that all have different growth forms, different life cycles, and that type of thing. And so matching that stuff up with grazing is the fun part. It's the hard part, but the fun part. All right, so let me go ahead and create 5 breakout rooms. You guys should have, and then we'll do 20 minutes here. Actually, we'll do 15, sorry. You guys can split up the work. And then we'll come back together and each group will just run through their presentation. All right, guys, so your room should be open. Hi guys, here is your link. You are group number 1.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, hi guys, here is your link and you are group number 2.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi guys, you are group number 3 and here is your link. Hi guys, you are group number 4 and there is your link.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Hi guys, you are group number 5 and there is your link. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, guys, welcome back. Hopefully, you guys kind of enjoyed that deep dive into plant species. If you didn't get all the information in there, that is totally fine. These are just the things that we're going to start to think through. So I'm going to go ahead and you guys have the ability to share screen. So let's just start. Let's go backwards to forward. So group number 5, would you guys like to tell us about your plant and or share your screen?
Yeah, I can share screen.
Great, go for it.
Okay, So we were assigned the reed canary grass, and its scientific name is right there. I don't want to butcher it.
Okay, you don't have to pronounce it.
This is a picture of its growth cycle. I don't know if Lucy, you want to go more in depth?
Yeah, I found it in the USDA website, so I thought it was like, I know that later on we talk about the growth cycle, but I thought it was cool that they already just had kind of like everything showing and like when it starts, growing and like the initial growth peak, which is like I think they said it starts like late spring and continues to summer, but most of the time it starts in spring. So they are I know that in the next one, but they are perennial grasses.
So I was in the middle of researching its growth form and morphology, but I found that it has a rhizome root system, which means that its roots grow underground. And then I know it has flat, long stems, and I think it either has panicle or spike flowers. Yeah. And then for its lifespan, I found out that it's a perennial grass, which means it lives from 1 year to the next. And then perennial means that its cycle continues until the plant eventually dies.
Great. Who's talking about season of growth, origin, and nomenclature?
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can.
Okay, so for the season of growth, it's a cool season grass that sprouts in the spring. And I found that the growth peaks were in mid-June and it declines in mid-August. And the origin is native to temperate regions of Europe, Asia, and North America.
We weren't able to get to this slide.
Okay, that's okay. Julie is going to tell us a little bit about reed canary grass on Wednesday.
So I was just working on the last slide trying to find something, but apparently since it's a cool season perennial, oh wait, was this the one? Yeah, sorry. The rhizome root system makes it good for like flood and drought. And apparently like it's like been used before, like apparently in the southern corn belt to control erosion in ditches and waterways and stuff like that. But yeah, like the root system makes it advantageous for that kind of stuff, which I thought was really interesting.
Awesome.
And
Yeah,
it's
go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know, most of the time it's like, I think it said it was like grown in like marshes and like kind of more like wet areas is like where.
Yep. Yep. Great. Thanks, guys. That's a good rundown on reed canary grass. All right. If you guys want to go ahead and stop sharing, group number 4. Why don't you go ahead and share your screen and just give us a rundown of your plant?
Okay, I can share mine. Hopefully it works. Oh wait, does someone else want to share it? I just got a new laptop and I'm still trying to figure it out. It's not letting me share though.
Okay, I can probably just share if that is easier and you guys can tell me when to move.
Yeah, that works. Thank you. Okay, so this is the one we're doing. I don't know how to pronounce it.
The common name is Fillory.
Yes. And then you can go to the next slide. I wasn't able to find like an actual cycle, but I found this picture on the right, which is when they first started growing out. And then the picture on the left is once the flowers have opened up.
Cool.
To the next. And then for growth form, they're low growing and they spread out. They also have a strong and pungent smell. And the way they look is their leaves are feather-like, and then fern-like. They're hairy and they're very delicate. And for the stems, there's numerous stems, leafy, also hairy. The flowers, they tend to be a pink to purple color, and they will grow on a 4-inch stalk in clusters. They also tend to appear during the time of February to July, and the roots are shallow rooted.
So really quickly on growth form, what, actually you guys may have it on the next slide. I won't ask. So there's your next slide.
For lifespan, they're winter annual or biennial. They germinate in moist soil and temperatures between 40 to 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is spring to fall, and they reproduce by seed.
Cool. So is this plant, is it, what form is it? Is it a grass? Is it a forb? Is it a shrub? Is it a tree? What do we think, guys?
Could you repeat that one more time?
Yeah. Is this plant a grass, a forb, a shrub, or a tree?
I'd say it's a forb.
It is a forb. Yep, because it's flowering. Okay, great. There's your next slide.
It is a common winter annual. It is found throughout California, native to Micronesia, temperate Eurasia, and North and Northeast Africa. The common names largely describe seed pods' beak-like appearance. Other common names include cranesbill and storksbill.
Cool. And forage value.
So from what I was looking at, it looks like it's a pretty high value forage. It had 25% protein content in early growing season and 15 to 20% after flowering, less than 15% crude fiber when it was in its vegetative state, 20% crude fiber during flowering, and 25 to 30% crude fiber at maturity. And overall, research has shown that the energy levels for fillery are higher than grasses at all stages of growth.
Fantastic. Yep, it's a great feed. All right. And then nothing on grazing resistance?
No, not yet. I can make an assumption.
That's okay. We're going to come back to fillery here before too long. So awesome. Thank you guys for that. Appreciate it. Okay, group 3, do you just want me to go ahead and share?
That's fine.
Okay. All right, go for it.
Okay, so ours was the low sagebrush. The scientific name, I'm gonna butcher this, but Artemisia arbuscula.
Sounds good. Artemisia. I know the first
Artemisia.
one. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Does someone else want to introduce the photos? Well, so these are the pictures. What I gathered from the USDA website is that it can come in like a gray form and a green form and then a darker green form.
yep.
So multiple different colors. And it also, the colors depend on like what state it's growing in also too. So
Yep.
For the growth form and morphology, I saw that there were uneven growth as well as it having a slow growth. And on the right side, you could see like the pattern of it slowly growing. It could also reach a height of 1 to 2 feet tall, as well as it having a leaf length of 1.5 to an inch long. But I also saw that there's also another one that said it could reach 1.5 centimeters long. And its morphology, it's shrub-like. It's a woody plant with several stems and loopy to broad leaves and webbed veins. It also has a fibrous root system as well.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's a good dominant shrub. All right, what about lifespan and cycle?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say someone started on this page, so
It's okay, we got to keep rolling, guys. So it's a shrub, so it's going to go through periods of green up and dormancy. So we can come back to this on Thursday or on Wednesday as well. So, all right, blooms mid to late summer. That's good. What about forage value, guys?
so the forage value was low to moderate, and it has exceptions. So some species it's actually pretty good palatability for, like mule deer, pronghorn, and then the sage grouse, like it and a lot of other birds too, like upland game fowl and like non-game fowl birds also have palatability to it. In Nevada, the gray green form is more palatable for livestock and wildlife than their darker green form, but then that's like location specific. And then I found that the leaves and stems, their crude protein was 10.69%, which I didn't think was too terrible. I mean, not the greatest, but also not terrible. Crude fat for the leaves and stems was 7.73%. And then the fiber, obviously at the highest percentage, was 56.79%. And then I thought it was interesting that it also has a fair palatability to sheep as well.
Yep. Cool. All right. What about grazing resistance? Okay, it's intermediate because it's a shrub. So great. Awesome. I know you guys have probably need to roll. So what I will do is we'll stop right now, and then we'll pick up with groups 1 and 2 on Wednesday. Okay, so I will make a note so I don't forget. Really quick announcement. Is this week we've got Young Cattlemen's meeting, the first one that's been in person in 18 months. It'll be at the University Farm. So if you guys are in or around Chico and would like to join us, we're gonna have dinner there, free dinner, but we need you to RSVP by Wednesday at noon. And so you can just follow that QR code to a Google form and sign up. So again, Thursday, October 7th at 6 p.m. at the farm. So hopefully you guys, or a few of you, can make it. All right, we'll pick up with groups 1 and 2 on Wednesday. Sorry I didn't get to you guys today. I'm always off on timing. And yeah, we'll see you guys. I hope you have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, Casey.
Thank you.
Bye.